Bombaři, zdar, je tady epizoda číslo 209 vašeho oblíbeného hokejového podcastu Bomby k tyči. Jsme zpátky, dneska teda jenom já, bez týmí sestavy, se kterou jsem tady byl minule, ale většina z nich se určitě ještě v budoucnu vrátí. Má trochu nápověda do budoucna. Já dneska jsem si povídal, nebo mám krásný rozhovor pro vás připravený s Craigem Buttonem, kanadským televizním komentátorem, bývalým manažerem generálním Calgary Flames, se kterým jsme se bavili především o českém hokeji a jeho vnímání v zámoří. Moc zajímavý povídání, přijde to tady za chvíli. Kdybyste tady náhodou byli poprvé, tak já jsem Jakub Korej, bývalý hokejista. V dnešní době komentuju hokej především na televizní stanici O2 TV Sport. Rozebírám hokej, kterýmu samozřejmě rozumím nejvíc ze všech. A vy právě teď posloucháte hokejový podcast Bomby k tyči. Hokej pomalu zpátky, rozjela se příprava na extraligu, odehrá se Hlinka Gretzky Cup, kterýmu se mimochodem věnovali kluci v Bombách v NHL, Honza Eichler s Matějem Hejdou. Můžete si celý jejich povídání poslechnout na našem kanále hero.co/Bomby k tyči. Opravdu oba dva kluci chlapi na svém místě s obrovským přehledem v hokeji a o mladých hráčích v NHL. Takže určitě běžte tam, pokud vás tahle část hokejového světa zajímá. Rozjela se taky příprava na extraligu. Já jsem upřímně přemýšlel, že se půjdu podívat na zápas tady v Plzni, kdy Plzeň hrála proti Spartě. Naštěstí jsem udělal to rozhodnutí, že jsem nešel, protože poslední asi, co bych chtěl, je sedět na začátku srpna ve 30 stupňovém vedru na zimáku, kde možná bylo trochu příjemnějc, ale nechtěl jsem určitě koukat na zápas, který skončí 1-0 po nájezdech, ač teda ten rozhodující nájezd týma Söderlunda byl naprosto překrásný. Zajímavá věc, která se tady udála v posledních dnech, sem do Čech přijela americká univerzita Cornell, která tady odehrála zápasy proti Spartě, proti výběru univerzitní ligy a proti Karlovým Varům. Sparta proti Cornellu nasadila hodně, nechci říct slabou sestavu, ale byla to kombinace pár hráčů z Ačka, pár hráčů z Litoměřic a pár hráčů z juniorů. A nakonec Sparta pro mě teda dost překvapivě Cornell doslova a do písmene přeběhla. A upřímně, abych řekl, tak jsem lehce jako rozpačitý, zklamaný z těch výkonů, který tady Cornell předvedl. Možná jsem si myslel, že ta úroveň, ta kvalita bude trochu výš. Otázka, jestli ty moje očekávání byly reální. Každopádně hezká zkušenost. Viděl jsem, že trenéři Cornellu vedli trénink jak na Spartě, tak ve Varech. Určitě obrovská zkušenost pro všechny, kdo tady v těch klubech fungují a mohli se setkat zase s dalšíma zkušenýma lidma ze zámoří. K bombám i k hokeji patří náš parťák Tip Sport, u kterého si můžete sázet v podstatě na všechny sporty, ale teď už zase můžete sázet i na hokej. Řada přípravných zápasů je v nabídce Tip Sportu, takže můžete tam zkoušet svoje štěstí. Občas jsou tam zajímavý tipy, možná když někdo vidíte trochu za roh, víte, jestli některý mužstvo teďka trénuje víc nebo míň, můžete mít lehkou výhodu. To nechám na vás, každopádně na tipáči už znova můžete sázet na hokej. A důležitým partnerem Bomb k tyči je taky komerční banka českého hokeje. Hokejová výstava na led se koná až do října v Národní galerii Praha na Staroměstském náměstí, kde se vždycky slavil triumf národního týmu na velké akci, olympiádě nebo mistrovství světa a samozřejmě i na letošním domácím šampionátu. Na výstavě je k zhlédnutí průřez děl od doby, kdy vůbec vznikly první brusle, až po současný umění a díla, který vznikly speciálně k téhle výstavě. Celá výstava je zabalená do hokejového hávu, je to opravdu pecka. Výstavu představuje Národní galerie Praha za podpory komerční banky a agentury Sport in Art. Určitě se zajděte podívat. My plánujeme, že v prostředí téhle výstavy nahrajeme jeden unikátní rozhovor. Je to všechno ještě v řešení. Věřím tomu, že se to povede. Na našem Hero, který jsem už zmínil, můžete najít i třetí část našeho minifilmu, minidokumentu Bomby v Meteoru, který samozřejmě ukazuje zákulisí finále krajské ligy, který jsme hráli my s Meteorem Třemošná proti Rebelu Nejdek. Je to třetí část a opravdu je závěrečná. Já jsem už v kraji skončil, v příští sezóně nebudu hrát, takže už jsem zjistil, že nejsem dost dobrý na to. Místě jsem měl dokonce pocit, že to klukům kazím nemyslím, takže se včas stáhnu pryč, než tam začnu být irelevantní. Každopádně podívejte se na Hero, ten dokument je opravdu pecka, to finále, jak se možná tak trochu dá čekat, bylo hodně vyhrocený, jsou tam nějaký simulovaný fauly, nějaký fauly, které nebyly přisimulovaný, jsou tam vidět nějaký góly, bezprostřední emoce, koukněte na to, je to napětí i zábava v jednom. No, my teďka máme zhruba polovinu srpna, intenzivně pracujeme na tom, na nové podobě Bomb k tyči, jak jsem avizoval na sociálních sítích, zhruba měsíc zpátky, čekáme velký update Bomb k tyči, sledujte naše sítě, tam se dozvíte všechny potřebné informace včas, začátkem září budeme všechno oficiálně oznamovat, bude z brusu nová sestava Bomb k tyči, hodně novinek, nových segmentů, řada věcí ještě v jednání, věříme, že to dobře dopadne. Každopádně bude to velký, těšíme se na to, až se v září rozjede zase Extraliga a my společně s ní spustíme, nechci říct nový, ale hodně updateovaný a já věřím tomu, že výrazně vylepšený Bomby k tyči. To je asi všechno z mýho dnešního úvodu. Půjdeme na rozhovor, jak už jsem avizoval na začátku. Craig Button, který je bývalý manažer Calgary, kde mě mimochodem opomenul v draftu roku 2002. Naťukli jsme to hned na začátku, taková úsměvná historka. Každopádně Craig obrovsky otevřený, v podstatě domluva s ním proběhla snad přes 3 zprávy a byli jsme domluvení. Já jsem s ním zrovna před chvilkou donahrával. Opravdu člověk na svém místě, to jak kouká na hokej, pro mě to obrovská škola. Často jsem na něj koukal, jak funguje na stanici TSN. Snažím se vidět, jakým způsobem zpracovává fakta, jak prezentuje svoje myšlenky. Všimněte si, jak se snaží být pozitivní, což je taky možná věc, ze který se tady v českém prostředí a samozřejmě to se týká i mě, můžeme poučit. S Craigem jsme samozřejmě se věnovali především českému hokeji, bavili jsme se o Hlinka Gretzky Cupu, hodně o Adamu Benákovi, bavili jsme se taky o Martinu Nečasovi, jaká je jeho situace v Carolině, o Jiřkovi Kulichovi, jeho situace v Buffalu a proč zatím nedostal víc jak jeden zápas v NHL. Mluvili jsme o Filipu Zadinovi, proč se nedokázal prosadit tak, jako se od něj očekávalo v nejvyšší zámořské soutěži. Bavíme se taky o Davidu Jiříčkovi, jestli bylo v pohodě to, že malinko vyjádřil svoji nespokojenost v Kolumbusu ze svojí situací. Craig se taky zamyslel nad tím, jestli Dominik Kubalík ještě dostane smlouvu v NHL. Probrali jsme ještě Davida Špačka a taky nakonec jsme se bavili to, jestli je lepší pro mladý hráče, aby zůstávali v Čechách nebo odcházeli do kanadský nebo americký juniorky. Nebudu to už dál prodlužovat, pohodlně se usaďte a tady je Craig Button. Our today's guest is one of the biggest hockey TV personalities in North America. He was a part of a Dallas Stars organization when they won Stanley Cup in 1999, former general manager of Calgary Flames and currently analyst and scout for Canadian TV channel TSN. I'm proud to welcome Craig Button. Craig, welcome to Bomby Tyči podcast.
Thank you very much, Jakob. It's really enjoyable to talk about hockey. We love hockey, right? But, to be able to talk about, how much the international game has grown and the interest in players from all around the world has really increased. It's really special because, it speaks to what a great global sport hockey is.
Exactly. And again, it's honor to have you here. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Your voice has a lot of weight in hockey community, obviously over here too. So I'm really excited to talk to you. To start things off, our paths kind of crossed back in 2002. Just to give a little bit of context, that time you were the general manager of Calgary Flames. I was a young prospect up to get drafted, and I was kind of thinking I'm on Calgary's radar at that time because I had a meeting with Calgary with their scouting team day before the draft. You guys had Tomáš Jelinek, Czech scout, former Czech player, and you guys had a pick number 9. And I remember I heard you guys have 3 players who you want. One was Peter Tadicek. I was the second one, and I didn't know who the third one was. So
Nick, it was Eric Nystrom.
Yeah, that's what I found out found out later, right?
You didn't know at the time. Jakob, it's always fun to talk about the draft and to see young players. And, when you watch players, and certainly we wouldn't have spent time with any player if we weren't interested in them. And certainly you were a player, you were so smart, and you were so competitive. And, you fit all the criteria, all the things that we were looking for in a player. Unfortunately, and this happens, you can't draft all the players you like. Yourself, Tuomo Ruutu, who had been drafted the year before, just won a Stanley Cup as an assistant coach with the Florida Panthers. And I'm sure you're very familiar with him. Yeah. The year before, he was drafted right in front of us, and he was a player like you that we like. So sometimes you don't get a chance at a player. Sometimes you have to make a decision at another player. But trust me, we had all kinds of interest and really liked the way you played.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate it, Craig. I think things work out pretty well with Erik Nystrom. He had a really good career. So yeah, that's kind of funny story how we almost met 22 years ago. Yeah. All right, Craig, let's get to what's going on in the hockey world right now. Big news out of Toronto. Auston Matthews is named new captain of the Leafs. How difficult do you think was the decision to take the C away from John Tavares?
It's never easy, because John Tavares has been a very good player for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he's a great person, and he's represented the Maple Leafs as captain exceptionally well. I think a big part of it is it's not so much, and it's not easy. I mean, and John certainly, as somebody that's proud, doesn't want to have that to deal with. But he dealt with it in the usual John Tavares fashion, with professionalism and class. But I think the reason for it is because there's a new coach. Craig Berube's the new coach there. After next year, John Tavares' future in Toronto is uncertain. Auston Matthews' future isn't uncertain in Toronto. And I think with a new coach and trying to establish that relationship with the captain, I think that was, in my view, one of the biggest reasons for the change. And obviously, you're not going to just tell John, this is what we're doing. You engage with him. Because he's still a part of your team. He's still a part of your leadership, and he's respected. And as a player that, in that room, players are respected, and John is very respected. So you have to deal with it in a manner where he feels that, okay, I like, this is not something that I wanted, but it's something that they treated me with respect, and obviously he has to like Auston Matthews and do it. But I think it's a new era with a new coach, and I think that next year there's probably going to be a new captain anyway. So the coach and Auston now get to establish that coach-captain relationship. Yeah.
You think Auston Matthews is ready to be a captain?
I do. I know a lot of times, we see it in the league. You tend to give young players that are your stars, the captaincy because they're your best players. That doesn't mean you're ready. And I don't think Auston was ready a few years back. I think he was still developing his game. We know how good he was scoring goals, but I see Auston now as a player that's really rounded out his game. I think he's become a really good two-way player, and he's still a great goal scorer and a great offensive player. And as a captain, a coach, you want your leaders, you want your best players to kind of show the way of how we're going to play. And I think that, for Auston Matthews, he's an excellent defensive player now. He plays excellent on the offensive side. I don't think that was the case 3 and 4 years ago. I think it is now. And so I think the timing for Auston is good. I think he is ready to be able to take it. And he also knows the city. He's been there. He knows the pressures. He knows that there's going to be a microphone in front of him every night. And I think you have to get comfortable with that also. And I think he's way more comfortable in that regard.
Do you think he's bound to be the best Leaf player ever? I heard the guys from Spitting Chicklets kind of talking about it. I was looking at the stats. He's 300 points behind Matt Sundin. He's going to be turning 27 in September. He's heading into his prime. So do you think he is really on a way to be the Mr. Maple Leaf?
Yes. And I mean, we talk about Mats. Mats was a great Leaf. Dave Keon was a great Leaf. I think that, Doug Gilmour didn't play there long enough. Doug Gilmour was only there for a short period of time. Everybody in Toronto loves Wendell Clark because of the way he played. But I think that when you look at Mats and you look at Dave Keon, that's where Auston finds himself. And Dave Keon won those Stanley Cups, and certainly, in Toronto they'll look at that as a measuring stick. But in terms of his play and his productivity and contributions, oh yeah, I think he's well on his way to having every record there: goals, points, and now he's the captain. And if he ends up winning a Stanley Cup or two, there'll be no question who the greatest Leaf will be when he's done.
He needs at least one playoff run, though, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's no question. Yeah, okay. He does.
All right, Craig, let's get to Hlinka Gretzky Cup, which just ended. It was kind of like a pretty good coincidence here in Czech. The Czech TV was broadcasting all the games, the Czech games, and they had your original commentary. So we've been, whole country's been listening to you last week or 2 weeks ago. So, we'll to get you an idea, what's going on in Czech right now. Obviously we'd had maybe last decade when we kind of felt like the Czech hockey is kind of taking step back, not really belonging between the best countries. We kind of feel like we're getting back into it. The World Juniors been the team's been pretty good. They've done pretty well. The back-to-back finals in the Hlinka Gretzky Cup. Do you really feel like the Czech hockey is gaining credit again? Or was it just Adamu Benákovi carrying his team on his back?
Well, I think the World Championships, which were in Prague, gold medal to Czechia. You look at the World Junior Championships. I look at the U18 Championships. I look at the Hlinka Championships. No, I don't think there's any question that Czechia has found their place again amongst the best countries in the world when it comes to hockey. And they're showing that by competing for gold medals and winning at different levels. So when you start, and I think I mentioned this on the broadcast last week, and Jakob, this. It's a pro league in Czechia, and trying to get younger players that aren't quite ready for the pros, but are too good for the juniors, that becomes a challenge. And I think one of the things that I've talked to Milan Marička about this over in past years, and Milan was involved with Czechia hockey. And I think that trying to find where those players can go find a place to go and play, and obviously the CHL has been a good place for Czechia players, but now I think that Czechia said, hey, listen, they're going to develop, but they're still going to be part of our national program. And I think that that's really, really important to recognize that. They get to find a place where they can play. And let's not forget, there's still Martinu Nečasovi stayed back and played he's a star in the NHL in my view. He was the captain of that Czechia team that won the Hlinka tournament. Yeah. And so when Czechia beat Canada in a pre-tourney game, and I said, don't be surprised. Czechia is a good team. Czechia is a very good team. And it's almost like, oh, wow. I was talking to some of the coaches for Canada, and I said, they go, oh, yeah, they're big, they're strong, they're fast, they have good goaltending, good defense. Well, those are all the elements you need to be a good team. And I definitely believe that Czechia has returned to a place where of prominence, and where, hockey in Czechia, people are very proud. And I think now watching their national teams has become something where you better take Czechia seriously when you go to international tournaments, because it's real. It's not accident.
Yeah, well, Craig, too bad you didn't get a chance to come over to Czech for the World Championship. It was really crazy, the home team winning. I'm seeing you've seen some crazy scenes over in North America.
Oh yeah.
But this was really something over here.
Well, I mean, during the Hlinka, we kept showing some pictures and some video from the Olympic championship in 1998, and really honoring Ivan Hlinka, right? Yeah. So, thinking about that time, and and then 1998 was the gold medal. They won back-to-back World Junior tournaments, U20 tournaments. They'd won World Championships. I mean, for a stretch of time, late 90s, early 2000s, they were the hockey power. They were the hockey power in the world.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of hoping we're getting back to that. Let's get to Adamu Benákovi. Craig, I couldn't miss when you talking about him on a broadcast that you really like the way he plays. Obviously, there's no question about his hockey IQ, about his talent, which is really impressive. But his size is obviously a question. Do you think he's gonna be drafted? Does he have a chance to be drafted in the first round?
He does. Now, does that mean he will? I mean, I don't see him being drafted any later than the second round. So, maybe he's drafted somewhere in the first round, but he's going to be drafted in the second round. We watch a player like Adam, and the first thing you can look and go, okay, he's only this tall. But then when the game starts, and I always try to look at this, I watch the game, and when I watch Adam play, and I've watched Adam play lots. I have seen him play lots at different levels. Last year at the Hlinka, he was a year younger than everybody and was an excellent player.
Yeah. This
year, he one of the best in the tournament. I never watch the game and think of Adam as small. I just watch him and go, what an excellent hockey player he is. And every player has to know what their strengths are and how to play to them. And when I watch Adam play, he knows how. He doesn't try to go hit people. He moves the puck. He opens up the ice. You talk about his IQ. His skills are outstanding. There's always going to be teams that are going to look at somebody's height or size and go, oh yeah, he's not for us. That's fine. I watch Adam play. There are very few players that can play at the level of his skill and his thinking in anywhere in the coming draft. So, how you manage the size question. I don't know if you're familiar with Lane Hutson. Lane Hutson was a 5'8", 5'8.5" defenseman drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. And everybody said, oh, his height. You watch the game, Lane Hutson is in control of the game. Yeah. When I watch Adamu Benákovi, he's in control of the game. How many players, Jakob, you played at a high level. How many players control a game? Not very many. Adam controls the game. And to me, I see a player that I have in my mind will be an NHL player and have success. He's going to need support, but at the same time, I think he's very, very gifted and very talented.
You think it's a good step from his side to go to USHL instead of CHL?
I think that he's looking at without talking to Adam, it seems to me like he's looking long. So he's going to go to the USHL, then he's thinking about going to school and playing in the NCAA against bigger, stronger players, which allows him to physically mature. He's not going to be ready to play in the NHL until he's 21 or thereabouts. Just like Lane Hutson, right? You got to physically mature, let your body grow. And I think that's what Adam is doing. I don't think Adam's trying to get to the NHL next year. I think he's taking steps that he feels will help him really grow and develop. And he's going to be patient with himself. But I think it's for that reason that he went to the USHL. The USHL is a good league. It's a good league. So I don't think he'll have any problem fitting in and being a really good player in that league.
Has the opinion, the way the GMs and the teams overall look at the smaller players, has it changed in the last 10 years, 10, 15 years?
I think it has changed. And again, and in some cases, Jakob, it hasn't changed. Yes, he's too small. I mean, I heard that. Yeah, he's a good player, but okay, good player, but. And then you hear other comments about, boy, is he good? And, you put him with different types of players. I mean, you think about Adam Novotny, and Adam Novotny, I thought, got better as the tournament went on, right? I watched those two play together. Adam's a good size, good skilled player. They have chemistry. Like, you need chemistry. You need to have a relationship with the players you're playing with. And I think Adam is able to bring out the best in other players. And so are you going to have three players like Adam Benákovi, size-wise, on the same line? No. But you put them with different players, he can make things happen that are pretty magical.
Yeah. Well, talking about size, Craig, without trying to be negative, I have to go back to one point of your career, your time in Calgary, when in 2000, when you just stepped into the role as a GM, you guys decided not to sign Marty St. Louie, let him go. Can you kind of take us back to that time? What was the thought process?
Yeah, I have to give. When I came in, there was a short period of time. Tom Watt really felt that there was something there with Marty St. Louie. And, the decision was made that we weren't going to sign him. He became a free agent. Obviously, the rest is history. I'll tell you a funny story, Jakob, and Marty and I laugh about this because I have a friendship with Marty and a really good relationship with Marty. It was during the World Cup in 2004. Marty had won the Stanley Cup. We knew how great he was. And I was in Montreal, and I was standing downstairs with Marty, Denny Gauthier, Steve Bejan, who they played together in Montreal. And so Marty says to me, Craig, how could you know? You didn't know. It's okay. I'd only scored 3 goals. I said, Marty, I watched you when you were 14, when you were 15 and 16. You were the best player at that level. Then I watched you in a year in junior A, like the USHL. And I said, you were the best player. Then you went to college and you were the best player. Then you went to the American Hockey League and you were the best player. I said, you know what? If anybody should have known, it should have been me, because all I saw you do was play. He took his hand and he slapped me on the back and he goes, yeah, you should have known.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Pretty funny.
Yeah, and I mean, he's a great person. I think he's really developing into a really good coach. But I mean, he's a Hall of Famer that, there's a perfect example. It took him a little bit of time, right? It took him a little bit. He was 26 before he really started to take his game and where it was like noticeable, and good for Marty. I think Marty deserves all the credit in the world. And I give Tom Watt, who was part of the Calgary Flames at that time, because he said, I think there's a lot more to Marty St. Louis than we've seen. He was right.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go back to one more iconic player, Jeroma Iginla. You were director of scouting in Dallas when you guys drafted him 11th overall in '95. But he got traded that same year in December to Calgary for Joe Nieuwendyk, which kind of looking back, if you have a kind of narrow vision, doesn't really make sense. But when you look at the Joe Nieuwendyk and what he did in Dallas, when he was a big part of a team that won a Stanley Cup in 1999, Joe Nieuwendyk was a playoff MVP. He was the best goal scorer of the playoffs. So can you just take me back, like you as a director of scouting, drafting this player? I'm sure you were really excited to having him in the organization and watching him go right that same December.
When you draft a player, and you really believe in the player, you want the best for that player. You have high hopes for that player, and we certainly did. Our team at that time wasn't very good, Jakob, and we'd been looking for a center to play with Nieuwendyk, or to play with Mike Modano. Like, we wanted a 1-2 punch, and we couldn't find it. And Joe was having some issues with Calgary, so we jumped in. We had a lot of good young players. We had Modano, we had Jere Lehtinen, we had Darren Hatcher, Richard Matvichuk, Jamie Lagenbrunner, and we were in a new city, and we were really trying to establish ourselves as a team. Because that season when we traded for Joe, we were not a good team. We finished 5th worst team in the league. And when we started talking to Calgary about Joe Nieuwendyk, Al Coates was pretty clear. If you're interested, it better be Jeroma Iginla. And it wasn't easy for us to say yes, and it wouldn't have been, and it wasn't easy for us to say no, because we knew how good Joe was, and we knew what an impact he could be on our team. I think for Calgary Flames fans, they had no idea who Jerome Iginla was. But that year at the World Junior Tournament, U20 tournament, Jerome was the best player in the tournament. I joke about this all the time, especially with Jerome's son Tej being drafted this year. We thought Jerome would be a 30-goal scorer in the NHL. We thought he had that potential. We were so wrong. He was way better than we thought. And I kept saying, I hope I don't underestimate his son Tej. And, Tej is a really good player. But Jerome he not only became the face of the Calgary Flames, he became a great player. He's a great person. He's working for the Flames now. And those trades aren't easy. I say this, Jerome Iginla and the Calgary Flames came one win away from that trade being the greatest win-win in the history of the NHL. Joe Nieuwendyk helping a team win a Stanley Cup, Jerome Iginla helping a team win the Stanley Cup. Ironically, Jerome's probably mad at me because Tampa Bay won the Stanley Cup in 7 games with Marty St. Louie as a key player, and Jerome's probably mad at me for not signing Marty St. Louie. He's never said that to me. I'll have to ask him if he's mad at me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, kind of things that they connect.
Yeah, they
sometimes do. Pretty weirdly. Craig, I want to talk about some Czech players over in North America. First one, sure. You already mentioned him, Martin Nečas. Were you surprised he didn't get traded out of Carolina? Jestli vás naše povídání s Craigem baví, tak nemusíte zoufat. Máme pro vás ještě víc jak 25 minut. Jenom budete muset jít na náš kanál. Už jste to tady dneska slyšeli. hero.co/Bomby k tyči. Tam samozřejmě se Craig vyjadřuje k situaci Martina Nečase, což bylo právě nakousnutý. Mluví taky o Jiřkovi Kulichovi. Čím je to, že zatím dostal pouze jeden zápas v Buffalu. Probrali jsme Filipa Zadinu, Davida Jiříčka, Davida Špačka, Dominika Kubalíka. Probrali jsme systém výchovy v Čechách. Naťukli jsme, co je lepší, jestli pro hráče, jestli zůstávat v Čechách nebo odcházet do kanadské juniorky, nebo třeba do Švédska nebo do Finska. Je toho ještě samozřejmě mnohem víc, Craig je hodně výřečnej, takže tohle to všechno a ještě mnohem víc právě teď hero.co/Bomby k tyči. Ještě jednou děkuju Craigovi za jeho čas, i když on si tady to poděkování asi neposlechne. Každopádně pro mě to byla zase obrovská škola toho, jak on dokáže mluvit a dokáže rozebírat hokej. To jeho nadšení a ten přehled, jak on si pamatuje ty roky zpátky, opravdu neuvěřitelný. Věřím tomu, že i vy jste si tenhle rozhovor užili. Ode mě je to pro dnešek všechno. Sledujte naše sítě, samozřejmě vám přineseme ještě pár epizod, pár rozhovorů před začátkem extraligy, ale jak už jsem avizoval, v první polovině září, krátce před začátkem extraligy spustíme nový Bomby, bude to opravdu hodně novinek, těšte se, věřím tomu, že si budete tenhle náš hokejový obsah hodně užívat. Děkuju za pozornost, užívejte si ještě zbytek léta, vidíme se brzo a zatím pokračujte v dobré práci.